Hello, friends. Happy to see you here. I think we'll be waiting one more minute just to make sure everyone's joined us. Hi there. We have some commentaries in chat. Okay, so I think we're about to start, and I'm happy to see you all here at our today's workshop, where we're gonna discuss some do's and don'ts of LinkedIn outreach and cold messaging in particular. And some of you guys are already familiar with me. For those who joined us for the first time, let me introduce myself in a few words. So I'm Maria. I've been working in sales for more than 6 years, both in B2B and B2C sales. And right now I'm with Closely, which is a LinkedIn engagement platform where we help people to use the power of LinkedIn for boosting brand awareness and for sales. And except for traditional email outreach, we are also keen on social selling approach that recently become a modern way of looking for prospects and enhancing your sales process. And in our previous webinars, we already discussed why you should consider LinkedIn as a sales channel and what are the basic steps for establishing your business, your brand on this platform. By the way, you may find those videos on our YouTube channel, and we are working hard right now to publish them on our website as well, on our blog. So today we're going to talk about the moment you decided to bring yourself and your product, your service to light. So the moment you start LinkedIn outreach, the moment you start cold messaging. So if done thoughtfully, LinkedIn outreach can provide you with a lot of benefits, whether if we are speaking about brand awareness or lead generation, because with the massive number of users on LinkedIn, you can connect with people all around the world and at the same time from a very specific niche or industry. And today we're going to talk about the basics of safe outreach, because you need to know your limits. You need to know the limits of LinkedIn in order to prevent your account restriction, for example, and about the main mistakes and the best practices of cold messages. So including connection requests, follow-up messages, and we will also review how to avoid most common mistakes and how to build the most successful tips into your campaign, I would say. So let's start with the hot topic, I would say. This is the LinkedIn limits, LinkedIn safe zone basic, I would call these topics in such a way. So to perform LinkedIn outreach, you connect with and you message to your potential leads. And you need to learn how LinkedIn connections and messaging works in order to understand the process behind this LinkedIn outreach. While you can make a page for your organization, for example, for your company, nevertheless, you should use only your personal account for outreach. So therefore, you need to know exactly what are you allowed to do on LinkedIn in order to avoid restriction, for example, of your account. So basically, on LinkedIn, there are 3 types of connections. So connections of the first degree. So those are people who are already in your network. So the people who are your friends, let's say it in this way. You may see their personal information depending on do they prefer to include it in their profile or not, such as email or phone, for example. And you can message them for free. And also you can see all their connections. The second level connections, those are people who are connected to your first degree connections, to your friends. You are still able to see their profiles, but you are not able to send them messages, for example, directly. So you can only send them a connection request to get them into your friends, into your network. You are able to send them free messages only if they added open profile feature, or if you have in-mails. So basically in-mails is a feature of sending free messages in case if you have premium account on LinkedIn. And third degree, those are people connected to your second degree connections. So you don't have any kind of mutual connections with those, like 0 or 1. So therefore you will be not able to contact them directly as well. You are only able to send them a connection request, but only in case if their first name and last name appeared in their profile, which means they are open to accepting third degree connections. So this is the reason sometimes that if you have already tried like LinkedIn outreach, you know that sometimes you are looking for some leads in LinkedIn search and you see that you have like quite long list of prospects. But later on, once you try to add them to your network through, for example, automation tools, you can see that this list is shortened. So this is due to the restrictions that some people have on their accounts because they belong to third level connections. So what are you able to do with the free account? A lot of things, actually. So you can send messages, for example, to your direct connections, which is about your first level connection. You can send free messages to members of your groups. As we mentioned at one of our previous webinars, you can send up to 15 free messages to the people who are members of the same group as you for free. And you also can message for free to people who work in your company. That is quite obvious. Due to LinkedIn policy, you can't reach anyone on this platform. So it encourages you to send messages only to people whom you know, to your first degree connections only, because LinkedIn assumes that you know those people who are among your network. So depending on the scope of your outreach strategy, you may invest either in LinkedIn premium account, for example, or in some kind of automation tools. Because in this case, you will be allowed to send more connection requests, and more messages. We will cover this a little bit later. Also, let's briefly mention some limitations here, because as you may probably all know, LinkedIn currently allows you to send only up to 100 connection requests per week. In this case, they're trying to avoid spamming on this platform. And if you want to send more messages, as I already mentioned, you need to invest into LinkedIn Premium or use some kind of automation tools, which have feature, for example, to invite people by email. So in this case, you are not spending your precious limits. You are not spending your precious credits on LinkedIn. And by the way, this feature will be also added soon to Closely, because this is a great way to expand your network absolutely legally and without spending your credits, of course. And about the regular messages, so as far as we know, there is no information about any limits for direct messaging within your network. But of course, we may assume, and LinkedIn said it also says about this, that they do pay attention to activity on your account, to unusual activity. So in case if you are performing daily huge amount of actions, and amount actions, I mean also sending messages to your first degree connection, they may consider activity on your account as suspicious and temporarily restricted, for example. So we do not recommend to maintain a really high level of activity. I mean, like sending very big amount of messages to your, for example, first degree connections. So this depends on the strength of your profile. How many messages can you send daily, for example, without being restricted? But we recommend to stay within 20 to 70 messages if you are using free account, and up to 100 messages if you have premium. So I'm speaking here about the messages to your first degree connections only, so to your friends, say so. Another important point is that you should bear in mind, when creating your messages, this is message length. So in mails, which is a premium feature, and regular messages, they allow you to send up to 2,000 characters in one message in the body of the text. And the connection request, it can contain only up to 300 characters. So just think about this when you are creating your campaign, when you're creating your messages, follow-ups, or connection requests, because you should really keep them simple and keep them short. The searches. Another important thing about the searches, there aren't any limits currently officially set by LinkedIn. Let's say this in this way. However, such search limit is calculated based on your activity on LinkedIn. This is used to determine if you're using LinkedIn for the lead generation or for recruiting, for example. So some examples of the action that might be considered as a lead generation or recruiting activity are, for example, viewing a lot of profiles of your second and third degrees connections, searching for people outside your network, also among second and third degrees connection. And also this is activity that is connected to searching some people within some specific company. So if you are constantly repeating, entering the search and looking for people from some specific company, LinkedIn may also consider this as a suspicious activity and think that you are probably recruiting, for example, or generating leads from this company. So it is impossible to know exactly what are the exact number of the searches that are available with your account. And which is also important, you cannot change this number and you cannot, for example, request some to change this limit, etc. So this is like a constant number that depends also probably on the strength of your account, because LinkedIn does not say directly what are those limits. So they just send you a notification in case if you are close to reaching your monthly limit. And they do recommend you to suspend your social and searching activity on this platform while you are waiting for another monthly reset, because if you will continue to do this, in this case, your account will be banned temporarily, of course, restricted. So the current estimations about the allowed searches, I mean to stay in a safe zone for your account, are about 30 searches per month. If you have, if you're just a beginner, if you have not warmed up account, just a fresh account, and around 300 searches per month in case if your account is already well established, you have a huge network, and you send, you perform daily some significant amount of activity, I would say. So important to notice that job searches and first connection searches, they are not counted. They do not influence this search limit in this case. And basically, if you're speaking about the number of the people, of the potential prospects that you are able to find with the LinkedIn search, so for a free account, it's up to 1,000 searches, up to 1,000 prospects, sorry, per one search. Or with the premium version, with the sales navigator, you can find up to 2,500 prospects. So in this way, LinkedIn tries to protect its users from spam and automated actions. Therefore, they experiment with introducing and constantly changing their algorithm, their limits. So they try to push users to make their focus on communication, on relationship, and instead of spamming, of course. So two important things here come further as a so-called conclusion, for example, for this part. So you should reach your audience in a more targeted way, because in case of LinkedIn, quantity is not about quality. So you have to define your ICP very clearly and experiment with the different ways to find your audience, whether it's a group, it's an event, or this is the targeted search, or maybe search for your audience somewhere in the database and then upload this list, for example. So it's up to you. We encourage you to experiment in this way, because you have to run different, for example, ways, different campaigns in order to identify which source bring you the most of your leads, for example. And second thing is about careful approach when it comes to using automation tools, because common delusion is that you can hack the system completely with using those tools. But you should be really careful, because LinkedIn is very sensitive to some kind of tools, especially to those that are Chrome extensions, and they do not use dedicated AP addresses for the users. Therefore, they are easily detectable for LinkedIn, for example. And we also strongly recommend to use a warm-up period for your outreach. What is basically a warm-up period? So you start, for example, with your campaign with 5 connection requests per day. So you're starting with the small amount of messages and of connection requests, and increase them day by day, step by step. So in this case, this activity does not seem unnatural to LinkedIn, and they cannot detect it, for example, as if you would send a massive batch of the connection requests daily, for example, 50 or 100 or something close to this number. Now that you all know like your limits and you know the importance of account warm up, for example, we can dive into the cold messaging on LinkedIn, into the most interesting part of our workshop. And I have to admit, basically, there are two approaches that depend on your product and on your offer. The first one is to go straight to the point, and I would call it hard sales. So you present yourself, you present your product, you present your offer, like let's say straight to the point from the first message. So you define clearly what exactly you're offering to your prospect, you define clearly your CTA. So is it a call, is it a demo, is it a trial, or something else? And so basically you open yourself from the very first message, and you open what exactly do you want from this prospect? What do you want to sell? What do you want to offer? Of course, this does not mean that you have to add unpersonalized messages, default messages to everybody on the platform. Is it about connection request, or is it about the follow-up message? No, definitely no. It works the opposite way here. You have to understand who exactly are you addressing, what are their needs, what are their pain points, and how exactly can you help them with your solution, for example. So you have to basically answer as many questions about your customer as possible. So who are my customers, for example, what companies they work at, industry. Of course, it may be a company size, it may be a company revenue, if you have such numbers, if you are able to find them somewhere. What is the portrait of the decision maker, if this is one person, or who are the decision makers if there are like few of them, for example. And before starting your outreach campaign, I would recommend you to prepare in advance and create a list with the common questions that may interest your customers. So I had a small example over here. So this is basically just a few most common questions in this case. So whom do you work with? What industries and businesses you have to answer as, for example, your prospect asks you those questions. What problems of my niche do you solve with your solution? What is your offer? What is your price? Also, if you can provide some references from your existing customers, that would be also great. If you can name like few companies or few decision makers within those companies, that also would be really great, and this will add credibility to your message. And also a very common question from the prospect, for example, if I invest like something like time or money, what will I get in return? So those are basically very, very common questions that you may even include into your messages. Of course, I'm not speaking about like direct answers to those questions, but you have to be aware that your potential customer may be interested in answer to those questions. So you have to cover those points in advance. So as I mentioned, for example, if you have some industry leaders that you work with, you may, if you have a permission to this name drop, you can easily add this to your message and show the potential customer like the scope of your clients. And you may ask, does this approach still works? Because people are getting a ton of the emails, of the cold emails, LinkedIn email messages, and we've been taught that only relationships and only interest is the way to break through this ice. But my answer is yes, this approach is definitely working, but you have to choose this wisely, depending on your product and on your business and on the type of the relationships you want to expect from those connections. Let me give you an example. So let's say you are a SaaS solution and you're seeking for a partner for your referral program. So you have a clear idea whom you would like to address. You have already created a proper offer and you are ready to pitch it. So in this case, we're speaking about mutually beneficial relationships where your potential partner understands clearly what benefits their connection and communication with you will bring them. So, and for this, for you, for example, this shortened way, it will give you almost immediate answer, almost immediate conversions. And by conversions, I mean any type of the answer in this case. So you will know whether it's positive or negative or neutral. So you can go like straight to the point and sort out the answers, sort out the things and see, does this approach work or not? So this approach is also applicable if you know for sure that the solution you offer is definitely the one that the company is seeking right now. So, for example, you have seen on their website or their social media or on the social media of their employees that they are looking for something in particular, and you know exactly that you can offer them this. So in this case, of course, this straightforward approach probably is the best, because you don't have to go around like different ways. You're just presenting yourself, you're providing the value upfront, and in this case, you have more chances that you will get an immediate answer from your prospect. So you see that despite the skeptical thoughts about the cold outreach, it still takes place and can be definitely used in some situations. Of course, you should still stick to some LinkedIn etiquette, like personalization, message length, value upfront, etc. So you should keep those things in your messages, but just don't be afraid to pitch yourself, to pitch your product from the first message, I would say. And the second approach is much softer, and it's all about relationships. So your task here is to create a bond between you and the prospect through engagement and communication. And the best way in this case is to become interested in other people rather than they be interested in you. So you may demonstrate this interest in different ways in LinkedIn. So this may be profile views, this may be liking, commenting their posts, asking questions, asking feedbacks, which is all basically about the engagement. And later on, your task is to transition smoothly those friendly conversation into the sales funnel. In this case, you should not start selling or pitching straight away, because your prospects simply don't care about this. And you don't have to lie how do you went on their profile, for example, because they will they will realize that this is a lie, for example, if this is not the case. And basically, people tend to respond to three basic things in cold messages. The first one is about personalization. So this is a specific personalized connection request, and it's not about the name and surname. This is having something in common, for example, mutual group or some interest or something like this. We will cover this a little bit later, but this is something that relates to this particular prospect only. The second thing is about the appropriateness. So your first point of contact should be about your value. It's not about product directly, it's not about your service directly, but it's about maybe content, maybe some kind of insights that you would like to share with this person. And the third one is about applicability. So what's exactly in your solution for this particular person? Because as you know, due to your RCP, for example, to different personas, different decision makers, your proposition, your offer may seem differently. So you have to think carefully about this and craft different offers and different messages for different types of solution makers. In this case, it doesn't make sense to send default, even personalized, but I mean, in the way of like title, company, name, etc., but not applicable to some particular role within company request or message, for example. And right now we will cover some basic things to include and basic things to avoid in your cold messages. And when I thought about the best way to present this, I realized that I will find some great examples and not so great examples, and we will look through them and point out the most interesting things in this case. So if we're speaking about what to include, definitely include in your messages, cold messages on LinkedIn, then you should start with the commonality. Because people are gonna be more receptive if you will throw this out at the beginning of your relationships, at the beginning of your communication. You should think about whether your message highlights some kind of commonality, like mutual connection, like school, university, industry. Maybe this is a job, maybe this is interest, it's about group or it's about event, hobby, charity, etc. So you need to have in mind profile of the person that you are reaching to, and it should not be just account executive, for example, but your message should contain additional level of commonality between you and between this prospect. So the great thing is that LinkedIn provides you with great amount of information about your prospects. So those obvious hooks that may be used for LinkedIn communication for developing your relationship with this prospect, they are highlighted by LinkedIn already. So they include some common jobs, they include employers, universities, schools, and many other points like groups, also events. So you may use all of those touch points in order to find something common between you and your prospect. And a great example of commonality I received once, this is on the left part of the screen. It includes a pretty honest explanation where exactly the person saw my profile, so just in the industry leaders section. And it also include a mutual industry we work with him. It is also include a small compliment. So the person called me like a professional and admitted she was impressed by my experience, so which is also very pleasant. So this is a great example of the connection message because it is short yet sweet, and it contains some points, some common points between us. So definitely my answer to this connection message will be yes, I will accept it, of course. And on the right part of the screen, you can see not so good example because the person refers to the title only, and she goes directly to the point in this case. And she requests a 5-minute call right from the connection message without explaining how they find this person, for example, or what exactly are they offering except for the first program of something. So there is nothing mutual between those two people, except that one tries to sell something to another person. So the next important point is about the context. You should answer this question to yourself. Why am I messaging them? And try to keep, in this case, focus on your niche while thinking about the scope of the people you are reaching. You do not necessarily have to cover everything you know about this customer cluster in one message. The best way here is to experiment and define which point will work best, for example, for you. Because you may have additional information, for example, knowing the tools that those people are using, struggles they might have with them, for example, things they mainly write on their social media, on LinkedIn account, for example, or problems they face within their day-to-day work. So you can, all of those things can contribute to finding those dots of connection. And the point is that you'll gain much more information about your customer by asking questions and getting your prospect to talk about themselves. Just go more with you and a little bit less with I in this case. And it's good to use pull and push approach in this case. So let's just go into one of the examples. Again, the great example is on the left part of the screen. So this is the first message after the connection after the connection request was accepted, and users start this conversation with finding some particular touch points between us both, and also he offers a free hack from the team, so they can share, for example, it can share them for free. And in this case, you can see that this message contains also a question at the end. So you're not simply paste a link to this hack, for example, and send it to prospect. So you do not know his or her feedback in this case, and you do not simply if he or she really interested in you sharing some content with them. But you're asking for feedback, you're asking for the interest, and in most cases, user will answer positively. So you can move forward this conversation. So basically, your task here is to throw the ball to the prospect and later on continue this conversation. And another example, basically two examples over here, they do not contain even name of the person, name of the prospect, and the one that is in the middle, this is just a super general message that does not contain any name, and the phrase "How are you?" is super obvious that this is just a formal question. So this message is not relevant to my role at all. So a poor research was done in this case, and definitely I will not respond to this message because the person simply even does not interested, if this is applicable for me, if I'm really interested in his or her offers. So no, strong no to this message. And the third one, it's more like self-advertisement, I would say, because it does not also contain any kind of the prospect name. It's all about the person. It's all about his or her knowledge, qualifications. So in this case, it just simply contains the biography, short biography of the person. So in case that you will be, for example, I will be interested to establish in a mutually fruitful relationship with this person, but there is no question, there is no offer, there is simply everything is about this personality. So this is also not so good example in case if you are trying to keep this conversation and not just play one person on a field in this case. Another important point about LinkedIn messaging is to keep your messages both connection and follow-up conversational, and you should keep them. Try to avoid long reads in this case, because you know that you have up to 2,000 characters, but you do not have to, definitely you don't have to use them all, because LinkedIn is built as a chat. So it is better to use short text, just like those you're typing on your, for example, phone, and send it in the messengers. It may seem that you have really never-ending field for your message, but it's not true, because despite a limited number of the words, you have a very limited attention from the prospect side. The prospect simply won't read your long messages if they don't pick their interest, for example. And in this case, unfocused writing will end up in a prospect just closing your conversation and getting back to more important tasks. So before sending your message, just have a look at it and ask yourself, does this message really seems like a text message or rather than an email letter? Because email is not LinkedIn, is not about LinkedIn format in this case. And here is one example, a very long one. So you may assume that this is not the very good case. Also, this message mentioned briefly that we are both members of the respective group. It's way too long, and it includes the things that I would prefer to discuss at a later stage. So if I'd be interested, I will definitely reach to this person and ask about their, in detail, about their offers, about their capabilities, and about pricing. But I definitely don't want to read this since from the very first message, especially if this is not, again, if this is not applicable to my role, and if this is not applicable to the things I'm looking, for example, right now. So in this case, the person simply does not ask if I'm interested or not. They would like to help us and provide you with the further information about our services. But in this case, I don't need it, so it's too early at this stage. And again, it's way too long. This message is really long. Another point that is related to the previous one is about tone of voice. And your task here is to keep your conversation casual. Try to avoid very formal text, very formal tone as well, and just to try to keep this conversation in a more friendly tone. Also, a great advice that I heard one time, to use humor, because obviously people love humor. And if you're using some kind of jokes, or if you're using sometimes smiles or emojis, it will add a warm tone to your message. This is a really great example of the message I once received, and this is very sweet and very short message, and it is built in a very friendly manner. It includes a point of connection between us, because always good to connect with a fellow, and this is the university name, goes further. Also, it includes an open question. Do you still work for? And the name of the company goes further. So in this case, this is not a obliged question. So this is not asking for some kind of favor or call to action. And I will definitely respond to this message, because it is built like from an old friend, actually. So this is a very great example of how to start a conversation. And we are coming to call to actions further. great advice, keep it just one CTA per one message, because it's not a very good idea to include links to trials, sign up buttons, different CTAs, like having a demo or a call in one message. So if you're defining your goal, just make it clear and put only one CTA per your message. So the prospect will know exactly what are you waiting him or her to do. Have a look at the left example. A person shares the content and it asks for a feedback. Basically, it asks for a permission to share this and also a feedback. So this is like one CTA, and I simply have to respond with yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not interested. And the example on the right, despite the fact that it is way too long again, but it basically includes 4 CTAs, like checking a guide, checking the compensation program, registering for a trial, and joining a community. So in this case, I would close this message because I will realize that it took too much effort from my side to make something that person is waiting from me. So the best idea, the best scenario, that I will do only one action from this email. But the most likely one is that I will close this conversation, because too many call to actions. So please include only one per one message. And the important thing to add to your messages is about trust. So building trust and think about adding additional credibility to your messages, and about the things that you're doing specifically for this niche. So in case if you can name, for example, a few customers, few companies, or few executives, industry leaders, for example, that work within the same niche as your prospects. Of course, if you have this permission to the name drop, that would be great. So this will add credibility to your message. If you will also have some well-known companies or customers, your potential customer will think about you in a way, oh, they work with this company, let's see how can I personally benefit from them, for example. So this will add credibility for you. And this is an example also of the follow-up message on the screen. So this is a short presentation of the person. And also there is a note about the industry, that the person have been in the particular industry for a long time, for over 7 years, and worked with the following customers. So we can assume that the blurred names include really famous companies, at least within this particular industry relevant to this prospect. So in this case, you have a permission to mention those names, and this will add few points to your message, because obviously such like huge companies, for example, or well-known companies, they work with somebody who deserves attention from the prospect side. So in case if you have some customers, in case if you have some companies, that clients that you work with and you can name, I suggest also to include this into your follow-up messages once you try to present yourself and try to present your solution, bring it to light. And the last but not least over here is about experiment and analysis, of course, because here is one rule comes that the single message is not going to cut it. You have to build messages sequences definitely, because obviously people, especially if we are speaking about executives and senior employees, they receive a lot of messages daily, both in their mailboxes and their LinkedIn messages. And if you rely on a single message, it can be easily buried in somebody's inbox. Even if you had some kind of interest when prospect read this message, he can simply forget about this. And what is also important, as I mentioned before, at experimentation is the key to success here, because the only way you can understand what works and what not is about running different campaigns, using different customer clusters, and also experimenting with your text and with your CTAs. So you can try both, for example, hard and soft approach with different audience, and see what exactly works better in your situation. You should know the difference exactly what happens if I include, for example, one CTA and the other day I will include another CTA. So in what case the conversions will be higher. So of course, if you're sending those batches of the emails and messages manually, you want to grow LinkedIn as a lead generation channel, as your sales channel. You may consider using different kind of automation tools, because with them you can simplify the lead generation process. And basically the main benefits of using the LinkedIn automation tools are the following. So the first one is about saving time, because you don't have to send all of those messages, connections manually. So it reduces time on the tasks that do not require your attention, for example. And those tools allow you to bring personalization and to add personalization even to mass outreach. So this way, your messages will seem more naturally to your potential customer. And another important point is about statistic, because LinkedIn tools, they generate reports, and you can easily access the statistic from the bar and see at a glance what campaign performs better, what performs worse, and you can fix it at the moment. And of course, this influences the quality and the speed of your A/B testing. So running different campaigns and experimenting with different audiences becomes easier and quicker. So you can get results quicker, of course. And some of the tools, they have plenty of built-in features that allow you to make the outreach process even more efficient. And I would love to share with you just a quick overview on, I would say, the basic things that you have to think when considering LinkedIn automation tool. And we will review also how to create your campaign from scratch using Closely, which is the LinkedIn engagement platform. So when you plan your campaign, just think about when you plan, actually not campaign, but when you just come into choosing LinkedIn automation tools, think about safety first. As I already mentioned, LinkedIn is really sensitive to some kind of tools like Chrome extensions. So opposite to the tools that are cloud-based solution and that use dedicated IP addresses for the users. And we do such thing in Closely. So we are not a Chrome extension, we're a cloud-based solution. And another important point is that we also recommend you to pay attention to the option of the warm-up period. What is the warm-up period? As I briefly mentioned, this is an opportunity to start your campaign, to start running your campaign actually with the small amount of requests and messages and increase it day by day. So in this case, this process will look more natural to LinkedIn. And you can see that this is the example with the Closely. So by default, the warm-up period starts from the 5 requests per day and increase from the week to week. And in case if you are pretty sure that your account is strong and you want to disable, for example, this feature, you may of course do this and put your limits manually. So this is also an example. Then you can put manually how many connection requests and how many messages per day and profile views are allowed with your current profile with the automation tool, for example. But again, we strongly recommend you to use this feature, this warm-up period, because it won't take long, but it will be much safer for you to use this particular feature for the safety of your account. And when you plan your campaign, you should also think carefully about the best working days and hours for your messages. I suggest to experiment in this way, but obviously your messages should hit the inboxes of your prospects at the relevant time. So if you are sitting, say, in Europe and you are planning outreach campaign for North America, so make sure that your messages are scheduled accordingly to the time zone of your prospects. And this can be also easily done with Closely, because you can go, for example, to your account. You can go to your account and you can see that in the profile setting, you can choose time zone, You can change time zone, of course, and you can choose also working days. So the days basically when your messages request will be sent. And also you can choose working hours for this. The best time to send your messages is obviously during a working week, because on weekends, prospects are less likely to engage on LinkedIn. And even despite there is no open data for the highest connection and reply rate on LinkedIn available, we can consider that the best time for sending your messages is during the period of users' activity, which is from Tuesday to Thursday. Anastasia, thanks for your question. I will answer it just in a few minutes once we will finish with the basic things. Thank you very much. And so yeah, you can choose your working hours here, and the best I would say reply rate and connection rate is related to the user activity on LinkedIn, and it is between 12 p.m. Till 5-6 p.m. So you may also choose and set those working hours with your LinkedIn automation tools, just to make sure that your messages will hit the inboxes of your customers, of your prospects, exactly at the time that you plan to send them. And they're just matching with their time zone. So of course you can choose different settings for different profiles, because if you're adding multiple profiles into one tool, you are able to experiment with different campaigns, with different countries and with different time zones. So of course you can set up those limits, sorry, not limits, but settings like time zone and working hours and days separately for each account. This allows you to have more flexibility with experimenting. Let's go to the company. Let's go to the company creation. So once you consider to create a company, just simply choose a name and the account you would like to use for your outreach. And here you have options to add your list of your customers to the tool. So basically, Closely does the core of work in this case, and it allows you to work with the free LinkedIn account search, with the sales navigator search. The difference here comes to the number of the prospect that you can find. So with basic LinkedIn search, you can find up to 1,000 prospects, and with the sales navigator search, you can find up to 2,500 prospects. And what you do is just simply going to LinkedIn, to the search, basic or paid, copying the URL and paste it into Closely. So the tool will find all the contacts on itself and add them to your campaign. Another great option is to add your contacts from CSV. So the basic things that you need to have in this file are just name, surname, and LinkedIn profile. And one more great option that was recently added to Closely is an opportunity to include basically any type of additional information about your customer and to use it as a custom variables. So this is just an example. How does it look at the screenshot? So here we find out what is the favorite song, for example, of the prospect that we found. And you can see that this information can be used as a custom variable. So this adds you a little bit more personalization, a little bit more flexibility, because you can use in your messages any type of the information that you have about your prospect. Maybe this is a tool, maybe this is a technology. Again, this can be any type of the information. So you simply upload this CSV sheet into Closely and map in the necessary fields. So it will be found by Closely also automatically. Once you have found the audience for your campaign, you're proceeding to the most interested part, to the connection message. You can craft your own message, or you can use our built-in templates. And for example, you may choose this one, paste it, and the information within variables will be added according to your prospect information. There is also a great option of the preview, so you can see at a glance how does your message looks exactly to your prospect. And as I mentioned before, you can also use and craft your own templates, your own messages. We encourage you also to use follow-ups, definitely, because the connection message, one message is not enough, definitely. And Important thing here is that sometimes there is an option to add follow-up right after the prospect accepted the invitation. So a delay, for example, in 15 minutes or 1 hour or even less. But I do not recommend to do this because it seems automatically to the user, because it seems a little bit strange that right after you accepted this connection, the prospect, I would say not prospect, but the person who sent you this invitation, they enter their LinkedIn and started to engage with you immediately. So it seems a little bit spammy. So I would suggest to go with 1 day delay, or you can basically choose any type of delay over here up to 5 days. And again, you can use here for the follow-up messages, you can use here built-in templates, or you can use also your own messages. You may paste it, you may also have a look at the preview, how does your message look, and add additional follow-up messages. So about the number of the follow-up messages, the best strategy is to go around three to five, because more than five, it may be a little bit annoying to the customer. So there is a small chance that he will respond after 5 messages, but from 3 to 5, this is a kind of a perfect number of the follow-up messages together to have a chance to get a response. And once you craft your campaign over here, you pasted all messages, you are proceeding to the final stage where you have all the list of your contacts, and you may exclude somebody manually if you would like. So you may save this campaign as a draft or save and start now. And about the statistic, if you're going to your campaign tab, you can see all the campaigns that were launched or that are currently active. And you can see the basic statistic, like how many connection requests were sent, how many connection accepted, etc. So this all information is available in the basic tab. And another important point, just pay attention when you're choosing a LinkedIn automation tool, is that it should contain a built-in inbox. So in this case, you don't have to switch to LinkedIn account and continue the communication with your customer. So as in closely, let's have a look. You have a built-in inbox with an option to see both all of your messages that related to this particular account, for example, and you can also use filtering and find out the messages, the messages changed that are related to a particular campaign, for example. And you can also jump into this particular conversation and even apply some kind of tag if you would like to filter conversations that are definitely positively answered, and you would like to add some notes in order to send the demo materials or sending some additional information to this prospect later on. You can jump into your inbox and tag, filter the conversation that are tagged with the particular tag. They're also custom, so you can apply any kind of the tag you would like. So this is easy to jump. This is very easy navigation in your inbox, so you don't have to go to your LinkedIn account and jump from one tab to another, for example, in this case. And one more point came to my mind just as I went through this campaign. Important thing is when your targeted audience is individual contributor. So this may be some consultant, or maybe those are some kind of person that work for ourselves, individual contributors. Just try to not scrape and use with the automation tools the company name, because it should be a mass in this case. So very frequently the name of this person is the company that it worked at, if this is an individual contributor. So please do not scrape this information like company name in case if you are reaching to individual contributors, for example, not the employees of some particular companies, like you know exactly that you are reaching to companies, but you are reaching to individual contributors. In this case, it doesn't make sense to scrape their company info. And let's go back. I see that we almost run out of time. Yeah, I'm coming to conclusions and to your questions. So although the LinkedIn outreach is not an easy task, We have one very big advantage over here. So this is the amount of the relevant information that you can find about a person's job role, about the work history, about educational background, lifestyle, even interest. And you can use this information in order to create a really, really great personalized message. And make sure that all of your points, that all of your messages, basically, they contain this basic points that we covered during our conversation. So we encourage you to use all the information that you can find about your prospects. Of course, you do not have to put it into one message, but you are definitely encouraged to use this during your conversation. The important thing is about finding the common ground. So some points that you and your prospect are related to. So this may be a group, this may be event, like common job title, industry, etc. So you can use this for creating that initial bond between you and customer. Also, you should provide context. So you should answer, first of all, yourself. Why are you messaging them? And how exactly your customer can benefit from you, from your solution. Another thing is about keeping LinkedIn conversation, not emails, not long reads, not very formal style emails. So it's about the casual style, it's about short style, it's about careful approach in this way. So keep it just friendly, keep it smooth. Also important notice about the CTA, just include one CTA per message. Do not overwhelm your potential customer with trials, links to your website, links to your, for example, communities and additional materials. Just try to put it clearly what exactly do you want from your customer in one CTA only. And focus on your niche. This means that you should know exactly your benefits of your solution if you are speaking about, if you are reaching to some particular niche, some particular industry. And also this is about including some references from your niche, from your customers that you can name. So this will add, as I mentioned, a few points to your credibility, a few points to your message as well. And about finding the perfect time for your messages, this is about the analyzing the reply rate, about analyzing the connection rate, because you need to find out your audience may have different behavioral patterns than, for example, stated by official LinkedIn data. So they may engage on LinkedIn on weekdays. So you have to experiment in this way and find out what time, what hours, what days are better for your campaigns. And basically, this is it from my side. Happy to hear your questions. So Anastasia, what kind of reporting do you have in the platform? And do you guys integrate with the CRM? Yeah, so thank you for the question. I believe that we answered about the reporting with our demo. So basically, the reporting is available through the main dashboard. So you can see all the campaigns. Currently, there is only one campaign active, but actually finished, but different statuses of different campaigns, and all this data will be displayed in the main dashboard. And you can see the active campaigns here, and you can also check the drafts over here. And you can jump into the inbox and find out, for example, if you would like to see exact number of the positive answers, of the positive conversation related to some specific campaign. You can apply a tag over here, like positive or negative. So in this way, you can analyze effectiveness of your campaign according to the type of the conversation. And about the integration, currently, we do not have an option of the integration, but we definitely have this in our roadmap. So in case if you can drop us, me personally, to my personal email, like a short email, what kind of CRM do you have? We can consider an option of the integrating. So we can discuss this in details. I will left my email at the end of the presentation. Just a second. Yeah. Do we have another questions? Okay. Okay, so guys, while we are waiting for other questions, I would like to invite you all to our next upcoming webinar that will be in 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah, in 2 weeks. And it will be all about art of closing the deal, I would say. So this will be about some useful technique that you can use with the emails, both with the emails and with the LinkedIn mailing, for example, messaging. And also those techniques are related to the, I would say, sudden disappearing of your prospects, for example, or appearing of some kind of objections at a later stage. So basically it will be about how to avoid and how to overcome those objections at a later stage and push your deal further. So make sure you will join us. And of course, we will send invitations as well. And this webinar will be also available on the YouTube, so you can go back anytime and basically watch it if you find something useful over there. So we have one more question. Hey Maria, saw your video how to add more people on LinkedIn. Very useful. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. This is basically, yeah, we are right now working on the list of videos that contain interesting LinkedIn hacks. Some of them a little bit well known, some of them lesser known. So I encourage you also to visit our blog on closelyhq.com, where you can find a separate tab with the videos. So we are constantly updating it, and you can also find some interesting information, interesting hack regarding the LinkedIn, regarding outreach, prospects finds, and a lot of useful things there. So yeah. And in case of any questions, just feel free to reach us both through the website or through my personal email. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for staying such late with me, and happy to see you all here. Hope to see you in 2 weeks again. Bye.